Hi, this is Bob Papa, voice of the New York Football Giants, and this is the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast.
Welcome back, Giants fans, to the latest edition of the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast. As always, proudly in association with Annie's Man Club, lads. Remember, it is okay to talk. Tonight, we are 75% British, 25% Irish, but as always, we are still 100% Giants. And it's a happy new year to you all. And it's the first episode 2025. And we're starting off as we mean to continue, as it's the first full house of 2025. As Shane and Kev are back to join me and Craig to look ahead to our last game of the season, of this god-awful 100th season in franchise history. And we're up against the enemy, and not just the enemy, but the NFC's number 2 seeded, starter-sitting Philadelphia Eagles. So it should be an interesting game. And at least one thing is certain about this weekend, and that's that Judas will not be breaking Eric Dickerson's single-season rushing record this weekend. So we don't have the utter embarrassment of being on the other end of that this week. So that's one good thing, at least. A full house to start the year, lads. How are we doing?
Yeah, when you said one good thing this weekend, I thought you were going to say the season ends. But that's the good thing in my eyes.
That's the second good thing.
I feel like it could be a little bit of a carnage episode today, but I'm going to get straight to something that's been on my mind for the last 24 hours or so, and it's something that I think needs to be addressed. Need to address the elephant in the room. My man Kev. You know what I'm going to say? We've got a big game next Friday.
Ooh.
Next Thursday night. Big.
Thursday night. What's the bet? Let's just get straight into it. We need a bet on it. You had one with Craig. I've got my idea for a bet, and I reckon what we should do is maybe you put your idea forward, I'll put my idea forward, and then everybody, including Dan and Craig, can vote for what they think it should be.
Good shout, Brad. You've really caught me off guard here, so I'm going to need some help from the comments. So anyone out there can think of some reasonable.
No tattoos, no haircuts.
Damn it!
Look at, but I'm game for a bit of sportsmanship betting. I mean, it's going to be a fantastic game, man. To be honest, we've been talking about the two teams being so close all season, and now, like I said before, we can find out who's the best on the park.
Is the beard off limits as well? Can I just clarify that?
Oh no, that can come off if
no,
the head can come off.
Craig,
oh my God!
I told you to me for carnage today.
Craig's mind is in the gutter.
Well, no, I personally was thinking something along the lines of having to wear the other team's merchandise during the draft episode.
That's what I was thinking. I was going to say for the whole stream.
Yeah,
Kev's going to have to wear a Penn State top because Penn State's going to win. So we might as well just get to it.
Oh.
Because that is saucy. I do like that one. That's definitely doable. But lucky enough, I won't have to do it. So it's going to be good.
That's, we'll think of something for sure. Definitely. Kev, how you doing, mate? After that?
I'm good. I mean, I'm a little bit blindsided now, to be honest. I haven't been that well. I'm still getting over a bit of a chest infection now, so I wasn't able to get on earlier this week, lads. Just got it about. I mean, Celtic lost to Rangers yesterday, so I was down in the dumps all afternoon. But as Shane's just said, overnight the mighty Fighting Irish were able to beat the Georgia Bulldogs to go to the semi-final of college football playoffs. So my emotions are all over the place at the moment. I'm having to deal with Giants football in the middle of it all. So I don't really know where I stand at the moment, mate, to be honest. But one thing's for sure, I'm definitely glad to be back home with you boys.
Yeah, I'm. As you all know, I'm in pain right now because I decided that a 5-hour leg tattoo sleeve was such a good idea on a Friday, and it absolutely hums right now. So yeah, that was a great idea. But I just want to carry the carnage on and just ask Shane if he would like to give us his player of the game for last week, seeing as he decided not to do it. You're on mute. If you just unmute yourself.
I can see his brain whirring. It wants to give us something.
A referee, goalposts, a Penn State player.
Shane has left the building, ladies and gentlemen.
You've broken him.
He's still there. He's still there.
No
That's it.
comment.
No
We'll
comment.
get cancelled, or I'll get fined, and we don't even get paid, and I'll still get fined.
10% of your game check.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So 0 then.
Yeah.
It's good to have you all back on. It's good to have the four of us again. First episode of the year. It's going to be an interesting game this weekend, and we're going to get into it in a minute. But yeah, it's a good way to start off the year, and I think with the season being as awful as it has been, I think it's going to be good to round out the season and start with the four of us on this evening. If you are watching live on YouTube, X, Twitch, Facebook, whichever platform you're on, get involved in the comments as usual, as you already have been. Send in your ideas for the Penn State Notre Dame bet, and we'll bring some up on screen later on. Also, get your score predictions in, and we'll read them out at the end as well. And as it's a new year, if you've got a New Year's resolution, if you believe in those sort of things, get them in the comments as well. And any Giants-related ones, that would be nice as well.
I've got one.
Go on. Resolution,
To
Shane?
be optimistic in 2025. Let's go, Giants.
I don't believe it.
I'm going to hold you to that. Let's snippet that, and we'll play that. We'll play that back on a week 1 of 2025.
Let's not.
What do you mean week 1? It would be the season preview when we do our predictions.
Yeah, we're getting on in pre-season week 1. Lost.
Actually, no. The first time we'll play it is draft night when we draft an offensive tackle.
Why, man? Why? Why do you have to wish that voodoo? What? 3 days into the new year and you're saying that already? Like, what? Why? If that happens now, I'm holding. I swear.
You say that as I take a swig of my beer and I nearly choke on it. Thanks for that.
Sorry.
Yeah, why would you wish that on me? On us?
I mean, Mayonnaise is running back in the top 5.
I'd rather a running back. I'd rather a kicker. It's a good kicker.
We don't need one. We've got Tyron Tracy.
You know which running back it will be as well. You know which running back it will be in the top 5.
Yeah, the shit one.
The shit one. All right. No resolutions this year, apart from Shane being positive about the Giants. I'm holding you to that, Shane. Yeah, no.
I'm feeling confident.
Cool.
Confident.
I like it.
Look at the confidence we've got in Penn State. We've already beat Notre Dame. You know what I mean? The confidence is starting and it's going to keep rolling.
Yeah, but
Kev can have that look of denial, but deep down, Kev knows. Kev knows he's going to be wearing Penn State gear on draft night.
I'll tell you what, though, I will say that Allard had some nice passes in that game. He actually looked like he could be a good player.
Oh. It should be a good game. That's all we'll say on it.
I'm sure it will be. Famous last word, Shane. I'm sure it will be. My New Year's resolution for this year is to finally actually choose a college team. So I will get on that at some point. Watch this space. That's what I'm going to say. Mayonnaise says Shane's resolution to stay on the tank train. Destination Arch Manning. Is he going to come off the tank train?
Yeah, that'll be week 1. Tankathon.
I wouldn't be surprised. Right, before we get into the game, at the end of Monday's show, Craig and I had a few quick fire questions to round out the episode, and we thought we'd give Shane and Kev the chance to answer them as well. So, Craig, fire away.
Yeah, this was just kind of like a get out. This was just kind of off the cuff thing that I thought about during the last pod, and I know that Kev kind of briefly answered a few of these in the comments while he was there. But I'll ask you both the question, but I'll try and alternate. So, Kev, if you want to go first, do you think last Sunday's win saves Brian Dable?
Yes, I do. I mean, I said in the comments as well, I was 50-50 about him coming back. I think that win last week, Dable can kind of stand on that game as like, look what I can do when I get good QB play. And I think it could be enough to sway them, because I do think they should be a package deal of Joe Sheehan and Brian Dable. So if you're going to keep one, you have to keep both, in my opinion. I was leaning towards keeping Sheehan, get rid of Dable, but I think he's done enough. I just want him to have better press conferences, if I'm honest.
And what about you, Shane?
Yeah, I think it probably does, but I think it's probably for the wrong reasons. In all honesty, it's probably a bit more of a reactionary decision. Like, as in, when I say that, I mean that probably were looking for a reason to turn around and say they want to keep him, and that was probably the reason that can kind of get some justification in terms of the result, the fact the team didn't quit in week 17, the fact that he got a decent quarterback play at a Drew Lock.
I know. Obviously, there was a report that came out that Brian Dable's already got plans of what he wants to say to ownership when they meet. I don't know why that's a news story. I'd hope he would do. Even if my head coach was like 15-1, I'd want him to have a plan to speak to ownership at the end of the season. Like, I don't see that being a news story in my eyes. But Shane, if you carry on, do you think his comments regarding consistent quarterback play in his presser was a shot at Joe Shane and ownership?
No, I don't think it was a shot. I think it was more of a justification, and kind of it was a chance for him to kind of say publicly, look, if you give me a quarterback or my quarterback, this is what I could potentially do. I don't think he was taking any shots. I think shots would probably be the wrong word to use. But probably, trying to make a justification for his case as to why he should potentially be kept on.
Kev?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I said at the time, I don't think it was a shot at Joe Shane. I think and it wasn't even, Shane's correct as well. I don't think it was a shot. It was just more justification to ownership. Look, because he is fighting for his life here. Let's be honest about it. Like, so, I do think it was a case of, look, I get some good quarterback play and we can put up 40 plus points. I need that consistency. And it was more of a, come on, this is what I can do. I put it out there for you now, not as a, look at me, bosh, bosh, bosh.
Kev, does Joe Shane risk the future to trade up for a quarterback?
Yeah, again, I posted in the comments last week. I think he has to. I think if he wants to keep his job, he kind of has to get a QB that will win in this league. Now, the problem is, like, you have to have some conviction on the guys coming out. And if you do, you're going to have to trade up for them. Again, if he trades up for people, he's giving away future draft capital. But essentially, if he gets it right, it won't matter because you've got your QB in the future. But if he gets it wrong, he won't be there to worry about who uses those picks.
Agreed, Shane?
It's a tough one. I think what we'll do, we'll certainly learn a lot as to how much faith John Mara has got in Joe Shane, because if he pulls that trade off, let's say he does move up to number 1 or number 2 to get a quarterback, depending on what we give up, will give you a kind of insight as to how much trust John Mara has got in Joe Shane. Because if he gives up a future first for next year, for instance, you can probably bet your bottom dollar that Mara has basically told Joe Shane, you're here for 2 years, essentially. Whereas I think if we were to move up and on and give up, say, a second rounder next year, he's not hamstringing a future general manager, because John Mara's not, as we saw in Hard Knocks, John Mara's not interfering as much as a lot of fans would tend to believe. But I also think he's gonna have to sign off on any trade up that we make. So I think it'll give a great indication as to how much faith John Mara potentially has in Joe Shane.
Cool. And then the last quickfire question. The fact that we've dropped down the draft order, Shane, does it make it more of a gamble to retain Joe Shane?
No, I wouldn't say so. I think irrespective of where we're at, I mean, like, I'm also on board. Let both go. Don't bring either of them back. Let's clean house. High draft pick, new general manager. I don't want this repeat process of drafting a quarterback. 2 years time, front office changes, and then again we've got the whole situation of them not having their guy at quarterback. So look, I'm in favour of clearing house, and that's nothing against Joe Shane or Brian. That's just my personal opinion. But I don't think it makes it any easier or any harder either way. To be honest, I think you can get rid of Joe Shane, potentially bring in a new GM. And he can start to build the roster out, ready to take a quarterback in the future.
Kev, round it out.
Yeah, I think it does a little bit in the sense of what I was just alluding to, the fact that it is a gamble to keep him on, because let's face it, he's done some good things, but overall he hasn't done a good job. So if you're going to keep him on and allow him to use future draft capital to go after a QB, then that would be a gamble, because he's tied to this QB, and if he's going to continue to do not a good enough job, that's a couple of more years of us sucking basically and being rubbish. Whereas if you went down Shane's route and cleaned house now, then someone comes in with a clean slate. So I do think it is a little bit of a gamble keeping.
Nice.
Cool. That's it. You can crack on with the preview.
Sweet. No, it was good. I think it was they were good. I enjoyed answering those questions, and I like your two answers as well. I think it gives a lot to be, a lot of food for thought as well, and things that we know that we're talking about over the coming weeks. And I'm sure we'll find out more regarding answers to those questions in the coming weeks as well. But
Monday.
Yeah, let's talk about. Yeah, true. Monday, Black Monday.
Potentially.
Yeah. Will it happen? Will it not? Don't know. We'll see. We'll find out. All right. Yeah. Game time Sunday. It's one of those games where in any given season you want to beat the Eagles. Any given Sunday you want to beat the Eagles. But at the same time as we're in the same position as last week, is do we want to win and give up a potentially a higher draft pick? It's sort of in between a rock and a hard place, really. But the season closure on Sunday is the 180th meeting between the two sides, dating back to 1933. And after winning earlier this season, the Eagles extended their lead in the series to 91, 86, and 2, and having won 6 of the last 7 meetings as well. In week 7, the Eagles walked away from MetLife with a 28-3 win, as we all know, thanks to touchdowns from Judas, AJ Brown, and a pair from Jalen Hurts. The only response for the Giants was a field goal from then standing Greg Joseph. In that game, Judas rushed for 176 yards on just 17 carries. However, obviously, it's been revealed in the last few days that by Nick Sirianni that he and most of the Eagles starters will likely be sitting out this game, or will be sitting out this game, due to their position in the playoffs, in the NFC playoffs, being locked in at number 2. They can't improve on it, or they can't lose it. So it makes no sense to risk any of their top players before they get going in wildcard weekend in just over a week's time. And likelihood is backup quarterback Kenny Pickett is unlikely to start due to a rib injury, so it'll be left to third string quarterback Tanner McKee, who threw his first touchdown pass last week to AJ Brown, I want to say, or was it Devontae Smith? One of the two. And they subsequently threw that ball into the stadium, into the crowd, and then they got it back for him. And the guy who caught it got a signed jersey. Big whoop. But yeah, they got the ball back for him. So that was a kind of a nice thing that they got that back for him. But they, the fact is the Tanner McKee's likely to start to round out their regular season. For they're currently 13-3. If they lose on Sunday, it makes no difference. If they win on Sunday, it makes no difference. Like I said, they are number 2 seed in the NFC. And despite the fact that their starters are likely to sit, they are still favoured by 3 points. Although we've said many times before, it's kind of the default home advantage that teams get is a 3-point advantage. So realistically, it's anyone's game. And the over-under is a disgustingly low 37.5. So I'd get your money on the over on that one. And if the Eagles are slight favourites on the money line as well. So if you like an underdog, put your money on the Giants this weekend. We'll cover the draft permutation. Go on. Carry on.
Tanner McGee. Tanner McGee. Is it Debbie McGee? Tanner McKee. The Tanner McKee news has dropped it to 2.5. 0.5.
Oh.
So that's all they think about the Giants is 0.5.
Giants are slightly favoured then in that case? Maybe.
I did have another interesting thing just to add in here that I don't know if you've seen. Have you seen the Saquon Barkley advert?
No.
Kev? Oh. Saquon Barkley has a new advert out promoting a mattress. And he says in it, I heard some of you were having trouble sleeping, so I wrote you a lullaby. Rockabye baby, awake in your bed as the thought of 2000 swirls in your head. It sure is tough to lose sleep over football. Not for me, though. Good night to you all. It is not clear what that advert is referencing, but does anybody want to have a little guess, have a
Mate,
little conversation
absolute shots fired right there. Fucking hell.
What do you think Mara thinks of that?
Oh, he'd be sickened. He'd be gutted, wouldn't he? You know, we all saw the comments he made about not being able to sleep at night on the hard knocks and stuff.
Yeah, man.
I mean, he's proper gone heel now, hasn't he?
You can imagine an advert being played in like New York Giants like facility, and every time John Mara walks past, everyone's like, "Quick, turn it off!" And John's like, "What's that? Oh, it's nothing, John. It's just a crap advert. You don't want to get watching that, do you? We'll put NFL Network on for you now, mate."
I'm surprised none of you had seen that. I watched the advert earlier, and he didn't write the jingle. That's the first thing you say, isn't it? He didn't write the jingle, but he probably was within his right to turn around and go, I don't think I could say this.
It's a bit distasteful now. Let's not do it. Wow.
I mean, there we go.
Says a lot, doesn't it?
There we go. I just thought that was an interesting one.
Does anybody have any issues with it? I mean, I think.
Oh no, it's very tongue in cheek, and I think it's funny. I just feel like Mara won't find that funny.
I mean, it's banter, isn't it, at the end of the day?
It's
brutal, but it's
John Mara saying to Joe Shane, "Have you seen that advert?" And Joe Shane being like, "Yeah, about that. Let's not worry.
Yeah.
We got Tyrone Tracy."
Do you think it'd be worse if he said, "No, I haven't seen it," and John had to bring it up on his phone and show it?
What advert? What advert's that, John? The new Gillette advert? No.
John Mara be like, "Just come to my office Monday. We'll talk about it."
Yeah.
Don't get my
hopes up. Shots fired, absolutely, for that one. It's kind of funny, really, isn't it? Anyway, where were we? We'll cover draft permutations later on at the end. But a loss at the Link would mean the Giants finish the season with a 3-14 record, which would be the worst in franchise history, as we've never lost more than 13 games in the season. A win means we would tie that worst franchise record with a 4-13 record, where we ended 2021. Joe Judge's tenure with the team ended in a 4-13 record. So either way, 2024 is going in the record books for the wrong reasons. Yay. Craig, for the final time this season, offense, over to you, mate.
You know what? We were discussing this, Dan, prior to the podcast, with the way that the Eagles have gone about things this week. It kind of makes it very difficult to kind of gauge a point to talk about, like other than just flogging a dead horse or anything. So I thought I'd have a look at something interesting, and I spent 3 hours on it, and I don't think I got any conclusive evidence, but I'm going to present it anyway because I think it's fun. So when you think of the Giants' offensive weapons, who do you think of? Malik Neighbors is probably the obvious choice. Then maybe Tracy. Wandale has 100 catches on the season almost. He probably gets that this weekend. And then,
wow, didn't even realise that.
I think he might get it this weekend. I think it might be 70 something. I might be thinking of targets, but either way. After that, then who? You got Slayton, who obviously won the Good Guy Award. Hyatt, Bellinger, Manhurts. I mean, would you really think of Manhurts if someone said think about something offensively of the players left? So what I'm kind of getting at here is that the Giants are very much focused on their starters, and they don't use a lot of their depth pieces. And because got a little bit of the tism, I thought, what's their percentage share versus the rest of the roster, and then what does that look like on a kind of broader scale across the league? So the Giants rank in the bottom 3 for receivers, tight ends, running backs, and total players with a catch on the season. They are the only team to rank in the bottom 5 in all of those categories. The Vikings and Falcons appear in the bottom 3 of 2 of the 4, but no one else does. We're the only team who has who appears in the bottom three for receivers with a catch, tight ends with a catch, running backs with a catch, and then total players with a catch. Because there are some weird teams that have like 5 non-offensive players with catches because they're mental. And if you look at our sort of reception share between our 3 starting receivers, they account for 65.7 of our total receptions on the season. The Bears are second with 62.7, and then the Falcons 61.8. The funny thing is none of those teams have a winning record, and they all account for the 3 highest percentage shares of catches. Now, there are exceptions to the rule on this. I think the Rams are only just outside of that. I think the Saints are one of the lowest, but the Saints have had 35 wide receivers suit up for them this season due to injury. So there's always going to be someone who kind of
35.
No, I think it was 10. I actually have my spreadsheet here because Craig loves a spreadsheet. The Saints have had 8 receivers, which actually isn't as much as the Browns or the Dolphins, who have used 10 different receivers. The top other, by the way, is the Cowboys, who have had 4 players, a safety, an offensive lineman, a quarterback, and a defensive back, all catch passes on offense this year, because why not? The Giants also rank in the bottom 3 for non-wide receiver catch share with 31.4. The only teams below that are the Colts and the Rams. So they're the only teams with their utility players like tight ends and running backs and other players catching less. And they all have under 100 total catches by players that are not wide receivers. So it's like I said, I don't know if it's conclusive evidence. I don't know if it means anything. It could just be me talking bollocks. It's just interesting that we don't use a lot of the other players outside of our starters. The starters seem to take precedence over everyone else. And I get that we have neighbours, we target him a lot. You look at the Raiders, they're targeting Brock Bowers on a much, much higher share than most. But you look at some of the teams, there's a lot of teams that use 5 running backs. There are some that only, 5 running backs on the season that have a catch. We have 3, and only Dante Miller is the other player who's actually come on offense who has played offensive snaps but hasn't caught one. Tight ends, there are some teams who have, the Chiefs have used 6 different tight ends this year in the passing game, and it's just on receivers. We've used 5. The only other team to only use 5 are the Vikings and the Cardinals. There are some teams out there who are using 10 wide receivers on a season. So my kind of question, Dan, on this and the big hoopla around all of this, it's no doubt that the Giants have struggled to use depth pieces consistently throughout Brian Daboll's kind of 3 years as a head coach and Kafka's as an offensive coordinator. Is this due to lack of talent on the roster? Because we've got Ford Wheaton, Smith Marset, Dante Miller, Jakob Johnson, and Greg Dulcich, who have all had offensive snaps, but no targets, let alone a catch. So we have had other players out there. We just don't utilize them.
I don't know if it's necessarily the sort of level of talent on the roster, but I think a lot of that underutilization comes from the quarterback situation. We haven't really had a starting caliber quarterback for the entire season. And looking back to last year, again, quarterback situation was a bit of a carousel. Mm-hmm. So, I'm not surprised that we're not getting these sort of depth pieces. Exactly. Daniel Jones, captain checkdown. I'm not surprised that these depth pieces haven't been getting the targets they sort of deserve, because we haven't had a quarterback that can potentially target them and potentially look that way. We all know how much Daniel Jones stepped down the barrel and went to his first read all the time, or would check down, so it's been difficult. And the two I'm sort of most surprised by, that I haven't really sort of had much of a look in, is Turbo Miller and Greg Dulcich. I think Turbo because Eric Gray's hardly set the world alight as third string running back, so why did Turbo not come in and get a chance? And and show what he can do in his rookie year, or I suppose his second year, rookie, whatever it is. He's obviously in a confusing situation there. So why has he not really had much of a look in? And Greg Dulcich as well, because he's a kind of a proven pass catcher, obviously being in Denver for 2 years, and then he was a healthy scratch for the first, I think, 8 games of this season before he was cut by them. So he didn't really get a look in this year under Sean Payton. But the last 2 seasons, I think he's had 40 something catches for nearly 500 yards. So I think I'm quite surprised he's not been more involved, considering our tight ends haven't really sort of done much at all this season. So yeah, it does surprise me that he's not got anything. But yeah, I think, talent wise, do we have a lack of talent outside of sort of the main 3 or 4 guys possibly? But I think a lot of it does come down to the quarterback situation.
Shane, there's a couple of comments here. I'll bring those up for you to kind of have a little think about. But Darren saying the Giants' inability to develop strength in depth or just develop is potentially one. And then Mayo said, some teams using 10 must have multiple guys out injured. And I mean, that is true for some of them. The Chiefs, I can remember Rashee Rice off the top of my head. And obviously, like I said, the Saints have been ravaged by injury. Do you think the Giants have been quite lucky maybe with injuries, and that's helped with consistency, even though it hasn't actually come to fruition in results?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard some people reference the injuries that we've had, or like the way our injury list has looked in, like leading up to games in recent weeks. But realistically, we've not been done that harshly for injuries. I mean, I still maintain there's players that have been shown up on the injury report that if we were competing for something, i.e. a playoff spot for the division, etc., then players probably would not even be on the injury list. But I think the other thing it comes down to as well is, you've got wide receivers there that you've invested a first round pick in, you've invested a early second round pick in with Wan'Dale Robinson, so you've got to use the justification, you've got to target them more, along with, like Dan says, the quarterback play has been shocking for the majority of the season, if not all the season. And also, I think the play calling as well. I think, like I said, the play calling has been to get the ball in the hands of those yak guys. That's what that's what Nair is. That's what Robinson is. Obviously, Slayton's more of a downfield target kind of guy, stretch the field. So, if that opens up, throw it to him. But, I think a lot of it is just targeting the guys that you've invested in more than these undrafted free agents, which is a shame because, I know me and Kev were both pretty big on Bryce Ford Wheaton when we picked him up as a UDFA. And, I'd love to see him get a chance on the field and see what he can potentially do. And it's a bit of a shame for him and for us that you don't get the opportunity to see that.
Kev, I know you're going to go through your sort of things to watch in a minute. One player I didn't mention who does not have many catches on the season, but does, and is that 5th wide receiver, Isaiah Hodgins. Do you think he's somebody who we could have potentially got involved more? I mean, he's a big body, isn't he? He was the big body receiver when he came in.
Yeah, I mean, when we first picked him up from the practice squad, from the Bills practice squad, he was like our leading receiver that year in Dable's first year, I think. He came in, he seemed so reliable. He seemed to make the catches on third and, whatever it was to make the first down catches. So very surprised that he hasn't been given more attempts, targets, catches. And again, like just the whole thing in offense just hasn't clicked at all. For whether it be coaching, quarterback play, offensive line starting well and then injuries creeping in and then bad form creeps in. And, the wide receivers just haven't sort of stepped up because they haven't really been given a platform to. But definitely, I mean, Hodgins, he's one of those players like, well, what you're getting with him, consistency, solid hands. He won't take a 5-yard pass and take it 80 yards down the field, a run after catch. But when it's 3rd and 4, he can make a 5-yard catch and he's solid. But so that's why I'm very, very surprised he wasn't seen more.
So I know you've got your things to watch. What have you got for us this week?
Well, I just wanted to talk about just a couple of things I was thinking about after this past game. I mean, one of them is Drew Lock as well. We have no quarterback essentially on the roster for next year. But the thing is, like, it's one game. I know they said he had to settle in, but he struggled significantly before week 17. You know, he had 1 touchdown, 3 pick sixes, and 4 interceptions. You know, that's just awful play. You know, he's been in this system all year. So for him to say he needed sort of like, you know, a few games to get himself settled, I don't know if I agree with that, you know. You know, he did turn it around last week. He had a fantastic game. He completed 17 of 23 passes for 309 yards. You know, he totaled 5 touchdowns, you know, including 1 rushing. He did excel in the pocket when it was kept clean. He completed 11 of 13 passes for 204 yards and 2 touchdowns when he had no pressure. You know, he set career highs as well. It's just one of those things where, like, where was that performance leading up to this week? It's just so infuriating that we're all on this tank train, or most of us are, or whatever, like, in the sense that we've been bad, so we expect to be bad, and this comes out of nowhere. And it's like, I understand Daniel Jones was a player earlier on the season, but it surely has to come down to play calling as well. And I mean, I just want to see Drew Lock this week to see if last week was a flash in the pan, or was it, you know, he's in now, he's got a grasp of the offense, he's got consistency, and will he go out and do something again this week? I mean, I don't believe he will be back next year, but, you know, with this front office and coaching, you never know. And someone else just want to talk about Daniel Bellinger. Like, we've all loved Daniel Bellinger, and, you know, he sort of embodies the tight end role, you know, solid pass catcher and very good in the run blocking as well. You know, he's tough. He's a tough player. You know, he's impactful when it comes to running the ball. You know, he earned a starting position when he was a rookie when he first came in. You know, but then, you know, the addition of Darren Waller and then Theo Johnson this past year, like, limited his role to a backup. You know, he played, was it 36% of snaps when Johnson was healthy? You know, and Johnson went out with his foot injury and he sort of became the full-time starter. And, you know, he had 89% share of the snaps, you know, since then. You know, he's only had 12 catches on 15 targets for 115 yards and no touchdowns. You know, he was limited to 3 targets only when Johnson was healthy. I just don't know if this is mismanagement, or has he been so bad, or Johnson's been so good. But if Johnson had been so good, he would have been involved more in the passing game at the beginning of the season, surely. So, you know, I don't really understand what's sort of going on there. So, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing if he's going to have a bit of a game. And I just want to, again, like, we have to talk about the offensive line, because it just feels like we talk about the offensive line forever. Do you mean we always talk about, there's something to talk about? You know, I was quite high on Jay Kubas. We got him as an undrafted free agent out of Dakota State. You know, he stepped in for John Runyon last week. He started at right guard in week 17. You know, he played left guard against the Falcons as well. You know, he showed poise. He showed confidence. He shows that, you know, he can be sort of a good, you know, or develop a player that you can develop into a good offensive lineman. You know, Greg Van Roten started to center last week, but, you know, he's getting on a bit. I thought he played quite well, though. So it's interesting to see if, you know, if Kubas can actually come in now in this game and just build on some of the good things that he's produced in the limited time that he's gotten. You know, and I think, you know, he will be a sort of good backup. You know, I can't see him pushing for starting reps going forward if we address offensive line in the offseason like I believe we should. But I just want to see him go out again and show that lunch peel mentality, that sort of just grinded out, you know, hard-nosed football. You know, I think we need a bit more of that in this team. And lastly, I just want to touch on Evan Neal. You know, I want to see how he plays this week, because he hasn't been awful recently. He's kind of been okay, you know, not too bad. I still believe that he should be moved to guard long term if he's going to salvage sort of a career. But you know, he'll be a tackle now. So yeah, I just want to see how he sort of progresses again. But Dan, I want, you know, you talked about the, you know, the Eagles resting their starters because they're in the playoffs. Nothing can change, you know, to rest them, you know, for those games. And Dable's come out, you know, and he said he's playing all his healthy starters. Do you think that's the right thing to do? Or would you like to see some of the back end of the roster guys get a bit more experience, or just even get some competitive snaps on film?
I think he's got no choice but to play his healthy starters because his job's on the line. I think if his job wasn't on the line, then maybe put some of the backups in there to get some snaps on film. But I don't think that's necessarily a priority for him at the moment. I think his main priority is A, having a job after Monday, and B, winning this game.
Yeah, I mean, I completely get where you're coming from, and obviously you're always the guy who's who's always been off the tank, straight into let's win games. But I think, like, from my point of view, if you play backups, you say I'm breeding experience and getting people valuable reps for next season, and I want to see these guys go out and be gritty. Then it doesn't matter if you win or lose because you're putting the best product in the field with backup players. I mean, I know we're different, but like,
I get that, but I think the narrative is if starters sit on Sunday, the narrative would be, oh, Daves is all aboard. Daves is tanking now. He's not wanting to get the win, and then all likelihood, come Monday, he's gone. See you later. It's kind of like the Joe Judge. Let's quarterback sneak on the Giants' 3-yard line. That was him giving up, and I think if Daves didn't start as healthy starters, that would almost be him giving up as well. So I think he's going all out to win this game.
Yeah, that's a fair point. So Shane, we talked about Evan Neal very briefly there. I'm guessing you won't want to pick up his 5th-year option, which has to be done exercised by May before the season starts. But do you think this final year of his rookie contract, do you think he should have one more crack at tackle, or do you think in the offseason he should move to guard again, like I said before, to try and salvage a career with the Giants?
I mean, I think I've said before, he should be playing at guard, but they're not going to do it. I don't know why. I don't know if they want to save face. I don't know what it is, but they're clearly not going to do it at all. Like, Evan Neal is a tackle for the New York Giants, and then he's going to go to somewhere like Philly and be a guard and be a stud and everything. You just know what's going to happen. Everyone can read the tea leaves already. You don't have to be Mystic Meg to start work that one out. I can feel me going on a rant now, and I'm not doing it. We're going to be positive in 2025, Dan. Yeah, positive.
Rant away, my friend. Rant away.
No, but that's what's going to happen. That's going to really piss me off because you've took a 7th overall player and you've not played him at the position that everybody has banged on about. Like, don't people know a lot more and a lot better than me in terms of like where players should play in the NFL, offensive line, tackle, guard, etc. But I just want someone to ask the question: what is the reluctance to try him at guard? Exactly. Mayo, it's like that's my burner account. Do you know what I mean? You should be playing guard. Don't get the saving face. I just want someone in the media to turn around and say to Brian Dable, or Brasello, what is the reluctance to play Evan Neal at guard? Why will you not even consider it, let alone attempt it? And don't give me a BS political answer. Answer the question I'm asking you.
I would love to as a reporter to sort of say, so why aren't you moving Evan Neal to guard? And then Brian Dable will say, well, Evan Neal is a tackle, and the reporter just go, is he? Is he really?
We'll just have to watch the tape.
Yeah, or just turn when he goes that Evan Neal's a tackle. Okay, that's not the question I asked you, Brian. So to reiterate again, why you're not trying Evan Neal at guard? I don't want what he is. I know what he is. I know what you've drafted him to be. I know where you keep playing him and where he keeps playing shit every week. I want you to tell me why you will not do it. Give me my answer. Look what you've done.
That positivity lasted for.
So just to throw a slight spanner in the work, Kev.
Oh no, go on.
Evan Neal's been ruled out for tomorrow.
Of course he has. Right, note to Kev, check injury report just before you go live.
It did only come out. It came out an hour ago, so
before we went on air. As you can see here on Big Blue UK and all the podcasts, we like to do our research well in advance.
Can we also just turn around and say Mayo said that Shane is the best looking member of the pod, so definitely a burner account.
Well, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's the accent, boys.
Must be.
Can Steve can Steve confirm in the comments?
That contributes to your looks, doesn't it, Shane?
It lulls people. That's what it does. They just go into a daze.
Don't forget, Mayo hasn't seen him in person, just touched up on camera. It's a lot of makeup there, Mayo.
Oh, touched up.
Oh,
Yeah, I've got filters here and everything. Luckily, we won't have to see a filter of Kevin a Penn State thing because he's going to be wearing the real thing when we beat them next week. Birmingham, the following of Birmingham.
or Col.
Can we ban him? Birmingham and Coventry, get him banned.
Yeah, we got off.
Oh God,
We got off the reels now.
The positivity side of him's gone.
The episode's gone carnage now. We're talking about the fucking M5, for God's sakes.
Hello, say hello to O-line guru Sheehan, all the way from Birmingham.
Oh,
That's your last warning. I'll give you that one for free because we're going to beat you next week. So I'll give you that one for free.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Just one last thing before I'll let you go into defense. Mayo made a good point in the fact that Bellinger's only 24 at the start of next season, and Kelsey didn't break out, so he's 25. So he's still got time. He has got time, but I am in agreement with you, Kev. I do think he's been underutilized. Something rotten, Bellinger, especially after. I know he wasn't. I'm not saying he was a top 5 tight end in his rookie year, but he was solid enough. And I actually think that the biggest thing that hindered him was the injury to his eye in the Jags game. I think that derailed quite a lot. But anyway, sorry.
And
Dan,
then
you can,
and then the Darren Waller trade.
Yeah. But in its rookie season, I think that injury really didn't help his momentum.
No, not at all. All right, defense then. Again, like you said earlier, Craig. Like we sort of had a bit of a chat about it, and it was like, do we just flog a dead horse and say how shit we've been, or do we actually look at it in a sort of slightly different angle? And I've kind of done something similar to you, but different as well at the same time. Obviously we know the Eagles are going to sit their starters. We don't really know what we're going to be coming up against this weekend, but chances are their backups are going to be a test for us on defense, because defensively we've been, especially over the last 8 weeks or so, we've been pretty poor. But we are likely to be facing Tanner McKee, Kenny Gainwell, and ex-Giant Nick Gates as well, among others. But this might be the last chance to impress for some depth guys on our defense. So I thought let's have a look at some impending free agents that we've got coming up on defense and what they've contributed to the team this year. Starting off with Isaiah Simmons. Now, he's one that kind of frustrates me because I think he could be utilised more than he has been, but that's just my opinion. But he's got a $2 million cap hit this year, and considering he's only been on the field for 168 defensive snaps, that's almost $12,000 per snap that he's been on the field for in terms of his cap hit, which it's cost a lot of money. And across the 2 years that he's been with the team, he's only averaged a 55.5 PFF grade on defense, and he's had 62 total tackles. He's allowed 27 receptions on 37 targets for 274 yards and a touchdown. And this year, he's taken defensive snaps in 11 of 16 games, believe it or not, which I thought was quite a surprise because I don't remember seeing him in that many games. And his strongest overall outing came against Dallas in week 4. But the rest of the season, he's been sort of kind of average. Yeah, he did get us a win with a block kick, admittedly, which was probably his standout player of the season. But do you really bring back a player that has only had really one standout play for the entire season? Don't know. Then you move on to Adoree Jackson, and we all know Adoree. The re-signing of him in the off-season was a desperation move because of our inability to strengthen at cornerback, and everybody had been screaming and shouting through the off-season, we need to strengthen at corner, and we bought back Jackson on a fairly cheap $1.75 million in comparison to his previous contract, which was astronomical. But he's appeared in 13 of 17 games so far this year on a total of 399 snaps. And though he started the year as backup behind Banks, Flott, and Trey Hawkins as well, unsurprisingly, due to injuries, he's found himself thrust into that CB2 position over the last 7 weeks. And according to PFF again, he's actually surprisingly turned it around this year in comparison to last year. Last year, his overall defensive grade was 48.6, which is shocking. For someone who's being paid that amount of money last season and was seen as one of the leaders on defense, it was awful. But actually, like I said, he's turned it around this year with a 71.7 grade, including the best run defensive grade of his entire career with 86. So it's almost like, does he fit in Shane Bowen's scheme better than he fit in Winks or in last year? Maybe. Next one I wanted to chat about, Timon Fox. Now, he started on the practice squad. He didn't nail down a roster spot during camp. He was elevated 3 times from the practice squad early on in the season. He appeared in 4 games before he was cut alongside Daniel Jones following the loss in Munich to make space for the returning Kayvon Thibodeau from injury. But prior to the Week 13 Thanksgiving game in Dallas, he was elevated from the practice squad to the active roster, and he stayed there ever since. He's appeared in all 5 games. And whilst he's been an okay depth piece, he's struggled to make an impact on the field. He's only had 1 sack on 175 total snaps he's played on. And for an edge guy, you need to see more production than that. But his cap hit's only $915K for this year, and he's an exclusive rights free agent next year as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if he does return to the team in 2025, albeit probably on the practice squad, because he doesn't seem to have developed much while he's been on this team. And lastly, but I think probably the biggest one, Jason Pinnock. He's appeared in by far the most games. He's only missed the trip to Munich this season. He's only missed 1 game. In the last 2 years, he's appeared in all but 2 games. So he's missed 1 game in both the last 2 years. And he's seen the field for almost 90% of all defensive snaps across that 2-year period. Now, his cap hit's $3.1 million this year. And considering his durability and ability to stay healthy, that's pretty light, in my opinion. He's not been used on special teams this year, though, as much as he was last year. And you would think that maybe his production would increase because he's not been used on special teams as much, but it's actually decreased. His production is less than what it was last year. He's allowed 21 receptions on 24 targets this year, which isn't great. Whereas last year he allowed only 24 on 39 targets. He's had less success in pressure this season as well, with only 6 total pressures in 2024 compared to 11 last year. And I think the most telling stat of all, he's only had 1 single pass breakup this year. Considering he's appeared in 15 of 16 games, he's only had 1 pass breakup in those 16 games, which is really quite concerning for a guy who's one of your sort of starting safeties, really. And this time last season, he had 6 pass breakups. So his production's decreased, but yet he spent more time on the field last year on special teams and defense combined than he has done this year. So, looking around the league, someone like Javon Holland of the Miami Dolphins, statistically, he's had a better season than Pinnock. And according to Over the Cap, he's got a lower valuation for potentially next year. So, Kevin, of the 4 players I've just mentioned, who do you think's got the best chance of returning to the Giants next season? I suppose apart from Timon Fox. Out of the other 3, who's got the best chance of returning to the Giants next season, and for what reason?
Yeah, I think it's Jason Pinnock, if I'm honest, and that's only because he is a current, obvious starter out of those players that you mentioned. But I do think I've kind of seen him as more of a placeholder. I think he's a great backup or a great third safety to have. But I think if he was to stay, I would like us to try and upgrade that position. But yeah, for that reason, I think because he's sort of the only clear starter currently, I think he will be brought back. But it depends what he's asking for in the free agent market.
Yeah, look, I was looking at over the cap earlier. His valuation for next year is $2.7 million, which is nothing really. But even still, he's at 3.1 this year. Is he going to want more money than that next year to stay on the team?
I think he'll be asking for more than that per year. I think he might be asking for something along the lines of 7-8 million per year range.
And that's going to be a big fat no, surely. Shane, does it surprise you that Adoris had a statistically better year under Shane Bowen than he did last year under Wink?
You ever know? Like, yeah, it does because I think he's had a shit season, but then no, because it doesn't really seem like it'd be hard to beat last season's efforts. To be honest, he was pretty poor. I think what it's actually shown is kind of a bad our DB room was and how kind of desperate we was at the end of the day. You know, he signed, what was it, in August, and like he was still a free agent then, so that kind of speaks volumes.
Yeah, massively. I think, I can't see him being on the roster next year. And I think corner. Like I said last week, corner is probably one of that position we need to strengthen most in, more than any other. That unit we need to strengthen most in compared to any other. And I just think we've got so many okay defenders across the unit, but there's only one or two sort of standouts, and we really need to sort of build that spine. Obviously, Okereke's missed a lot of time this year because of injury, but I think moving forward into next year, we really need to sort of build that spine through the defense with Dex, Bobby O, Banks ain't CB1, so we need a replacement for him at CB1 because he's at best CB2, and then we need that lockdown safety in the middle of the field. Is one of the rookies that lockdown safety that we're looking for? Obviously, I don't know, maybe, but I think we definitely need some veteran help because this defense is stupidly young, and it doesn't surprise me that we, over the last 8 weeks since losing Dex to injury, that we have struggled. So it's been a sort of a season of two halves on defense, really. First half of the season, we excelled in pass rush and we were leading the league in sacks. And over the last half of the season, we've tailed off, and we've now become a bit of a joke on defense because we don't seem to be able to stop anybody. So, yeah, defensively, there's a lot of work that needs doing in this off season. Put it that way. Alrighty, injury report, Craig.
Yep, there is one. Bear with me.
Evan Neal.
Well, Evan Neal is one. Everybody is okay for the game, apart from Michael McFadden, who has been ruled out with a neck injury, Evan Neal, rib/hip, JMS ankle, Stroman shin, and Armon Watts knee. Now, Armon Watts has also been placed on injured reserve, so that gives us an opportunity to call up an additional practice squad member because we can sign them to the main roster. So kind of watch out for that, I guess.
Interesting. He had quite a nasty looking injury last week, Armon Watts. So I'm not surprised he's gone onto IR.
I think he had knee surgery. So
yeah. Awesome. All right. Predictions then. This is going to be interesting. This is going to be fun. No doubt it's going to go down like a lead balloon, but I don't really care. Giants win 27-13.
Which, interestingly, is the same score you had last week.
That's unintentional, but okay, I'll take it. I'll take it. Kev.
I've gone for, just have to go through my notes now just to get it exactly correct. 27-13 Giants. 27-18. 28-17. I know.
Third time's the charm.
Something.
I'll have to go for my notes to get it correct. 27-13.
Giants win. That's the important bit.
Giants win. Nice. Shane, are you lone wolfing it this week?
2024 is the year of the snake, in case anyone was unaware. So I'm going to do a bit of snaky business here. 2025, the year of optimism, yeah. I've got the New York Giants winning 100-3 because it's our 100th year.
I honestly thought you were going to
go... and we've only got 3 wins so far, yeah?
Yeah, I only give the Eagles 3 because I don't think we'll hold them out. I don't think we can shut the Eagles out, so I'll give them 3 points.
I was lined up for you to go 20-25 Giants win.
Nah, I
That's
thought,
what I
you know
thought
what,
you were doing.
100th year, let's bang up 100 points. Go out with a bang.
I mean, we got nearly half that last week.
Would that
Are
be
you-
more points than we've scored the entirety of the season?
Not
Somehow
far
I
off.
don't think you're taking this seriously.
I'm taking it very 2025, the year of optimism, Kev.
Shane hasn't
Shut up.
taken predictions seriously since Munich.
I'm very serious here. We all got joint wins. Don't sit there on your high stools judging
Have we?
We have at the minute.
Have
We
we?
have at the minute. We've all got joint wins at the minute.
What happens if someone goes against the grain?
You're not going against the game. Stop teasing us. You're not going to. It's going to come up 4 New York Giant logos.
I just love poking Shane. It's just like poking the bear. I do it every week now on the predictions. It's even worse when it's just me and you.
Yeah.
Because then I get to reveal 3 scores that makes it even more likely. Yeah,
It just amps me up even more.
So I've actually gone for quite a low scoring game, 17-10. I think a lot of people are looking at this Eagles team and going, they're playing backups. But do you remember what happened when we started playing backups? We actually started stopping the run, and we actually played slightly better with our backups than we did with our first teamers. These are all players who are coming in at the end of the season, going, 1, I'd like to get a contract next year, potentially here, potentially somewhere else. But 2, if one of these, I was going to call them, they are bastards. If one of these bastards goes down playing for Philly, I'm the next man up, so I need to prove that I am the next man up. So I don't think this is as cut and dry as people think it is at the moment. I think that there's a little something to this Eagles defense and offense that potentially could upset.
So we scored 40-odd points last week, and not one of you was scoring over 30.
No, because the Colts were shit.
Well, what's this roles reversed, man? Look, where's your optimism? Look, where's your encouragement and your belief?
The Colts lead the league in missed tackles.
Doesn't
I'm not sure
matter.
how we didn't
You can
pick
only
up
beat
on that.
what's in front of you. At the end of the day, yeah, the way I've worked today is the New York Giants are going to piss me off by winning. We're going to end up with a 9th or 10th draft pick, and I'm going to be fuming. Look at the Bears. We'll come to them in a minute. But they've lost 10 in a row, and they've got pick 9. Imagine how pissed off you'd be knowing you've lost 10 games in a row, and you've just about got a top 10 pick.
If it's any consolation, we cannot get 10. We can get 9, but we can't get 10.
Is that consolation?
I think that's Steve saying Shane hasn't taken them seriously since 2023.
I've not took them seriously since the extended Daniel Jones.
Oh,
Can I a suggestion, please? That reminds me. If Smith Marset gets another touchdown, can Craig get a Smith Marset tattoo?
Hell no. Hell no. I've just gone through 5 hours of agony today, and you're already talking about next tattoo.
It's just a suggestion.
Even if it's a reception touchdown.
If he gets a receiving touchdown, I'll get SM87 tattooed on my finger.
Oh man!
Right.
I
Can we start spamming
I'm going to message
coaches
Bob
now?
Papa.
And
I'm going to message Bob Papa. I need to get a message to Dave's.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's got to be a receiving touchdown. It can't be a rushing touchdown or a special teams touchdown. It has to count. It has to count. And it has to be over 60 yards.
Could you imagine?
I mean, you're moving the goalpost now. You're moving the goalpost now.
If there is a God, please.
This isn't Steve-O. Steve.
This is a mere Smith Marset match. Oh, mate. That's a... Who would want that tattoo on the back? A full face on the entirety of the back. Fucking hell.
Sounds like something Darius Toney would do.
No, yeah. It does.
There is not a jersey update. If anything, everything's gone a bit quiet on the jersey update. So it might be a case of using the I almost called them the Communist Party then. It might be worth using. It might be in the end using China's finest and just waiting to see if it turns up and it's relatively okay. I've tried. I've even contacted the man himself. But obviously...
But we don't care about his jersey if he gets a receiving touchdown this weekend.
I mean, the likelihood of him getting a receiving touchdown this weekend, come on. He's not had a single reception all bloody year.
That's why it'd be perfect if he did.
He hasn't had a target this year.
I cannot wait
He's only
to
had,
see Smith Marset
he's only had
in
40,
the slot.
He's only had 14 receptions his whole career.
Has he even lined up as a receiver at all?
PFF would tell us.
Craig's on it.
If I go to... Yeah. God, he's going to become...
I mean, it's not going to happen anyway, is it really? Let's be realistic, chaps.
No,
For God's sake, we're 3 days into the year, man. Where's the optimism? Like, what is going on with people? We need the Giants to win. We need Craig to get a Smith Marset tattoo. Like, come on, man. 2025, the year of optimism.
Serious question, Shane. Serious question.
Yeah.
How annoyed would you be if we were picking like 8?
I'll be fucking fuming. I'll be furious.
It would just sort of kill the mid, wouldn't it?
Massively.
Are you ready for the snap breakdown for Smith Marset?
Here we go.
Is it greater than 0?
In week 7, he had 1 snap as a left wide receiver.
Wow.
In week 9, he was a right slot receiver. In week 13, he had 1 snap as a right slot receiver. In week 15, something happened, and he had 1 snap as a left wide receiver out on the left, and 2 snaps as a slot receiver to the right. And then in week 16, he had 1 in the slot to the left. So,
come on. If there's a God, please.
He had 0 snaps on offense last week.
He didn't need to. He'd done the job on special teams, hasn't he?
That's it. The thing is, though, now he's earned that, I'm going to say, you know what? Let's just see what could happen.
The most snaps he's had in a game, including his special teams, is 15.
Oh. I mean, stranger things have happened. That's what I'm going to say. Yes, Chris, we do have us all beating the Eagles.
The year of optimism.
Exactly. And the Eagles suck, and we want to send them into the postseason on the back of a defeat, because that'll be the second year in a row that we've done that, and it'll be funny. And let's face it, they're sitting their starters, so we're up against a weakened Eagles team this weekend. Right, Craig, what time is it?
Oh yeah, sorry. We're not going to have the graphic because I thought we were going to do it live. So
go on then.
Boom boom. Boom boom. Boom boom.
And he won.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert, that was provided to us by Shane.
Supposedly.
Some great lip syncing by Shane during that. I just want to say.
I'm just used to listening to that often.
Right, Shane,
it's Tankathon time.
I ain't listened to it since we left number 1 pick behind. So yeah, we have 111 days to go till the NFL draft, and this is kind of who the teams have got this weekend. And I'm going to follow on with a question kind of shortly to you all, to be honest. But the Patriots have got the number 1 pick. They've got the Buffalo Bills. Tennessee Titans with number 2 pick face the Texans. Braves are at number 3. They are at the Ravens, with the New York Giants being at the Eagles, who stand in number 4. And then right at the top 5, the Jags travel to Indy to face those awful Colts. 6 Panthers, they go to Atlanta to face the Falcons. The Jets have got the Dolphins at home, with the Raiders also having the Chargers at home. Bears travel to Green Bay to face the Packers. And then at number 10, the Saints face the Buccaneers in New Orleans. So what the question I was going to ask for you all was, obviously there's been a lot of talk that, Philly are going to want to screw the Giants over. they're going to want to hurt the Giants draft pick. But everybody's facing the divisional rival. So my question is, do you think there's any possibility of the Bills, the Texans and the Ravens wanting to screw over the Patriots, the Titans and the Browns?
Ravens are playing for the divisional win, so no, not for them. They're going to go out and win the game. Texans, I can't see Buffalo throwing the game against New England.
You say that, but Josh Allen has been told he will play the first series to keep up his quarterback streak, and then that's it.
Okay.
To be clear, I'm not on about them kind of throwing the game, but the kind of as much as they're talking in regards to Philly trying to do us over, they're all divisional. Everyone's played a divisional rival, so surely that same argument could be made across the top 10.
Yeah, but Philly are just scum, though.
Yeah,
absolutely agree with you on that, Kev. Philly are just scum.
I mean, it's interesting. Dolphins still have something to play for. The Packers are still, I think, can still change their seeding. Bucks obviously have something to play for. So do the Falcons, and so do the Ravens. So you could probably ignore those. Colts, Jags, meh. Chargers are obviously already in the playoffs. I don't know if they can change their seeding. Dolphins, Jets means nothing. And Tua's not playing.
So basically, we will be picking 8th in this draft. Because we will win and everyone else will lose.
What was it? I think.
It's not a dead set that we'll win.
It's not, no. And Charlotte Carroll released something on The Athletic earlier about percentages of where we finish picking, and I think the highest percentage chance was pick 3. Followed by pick 6 or 7. I think the chances of us ending up with pick 9 was something stupid, like under 1%.
How low down would you be happy us dropping?
I think I personally want us to be in the top 5. Anything outside the top 5, and it's almost like that 6 to 10 range is, again, it depends who's available, but that 6 to 10 range is just a bit meh. Because look at what we did before when we had pick 5 and 7. Yeah, we took Thibodeau and he's been okay, but look at who we took at pick 7.
But Evan Neal was consensus one of the top 3 tackles in the entire draft.
Yeah,
so
he was. But
I just think if we pick in that 6 to 10 range, it just feels like this whole season's been for nothing.
True, but if you look at all of the other teams who are also just as shit as we are, there's a reason that we're in the last game of the season, and the Patriots, who are number 1, could end up picking 7th. That's how shit a lot of teams have been.
Yeah, true that. I mean, yeah, you just got to look at like the overall records across the league. I mean, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 teams with 10 or more wins this year so far. And there's so many, obviously, that just says that, there's those sort of top 10, 12 teams are very, very good. And then it says, then adversely, the bottom 10 to 12 teams are absolute dog shit. And we are one of those teams that are absolute dog shit. So, yeah, it's been a very sort of, it's not been a very like even season. There's not really been that many upsets this season, has there? In terms of like, favourites, like odds on favourites losing a game. It's not happened that often this season. So it doesn't surprise me there's that many bad teams across the league.
The good thing though as well, like the Sunday, that barring 2 games, all those games, the other 8 games are at 6:00. So we should know, we should have an idea of our fate pretty much as soon as it's happened, like after the game. The Jets, Dolphins, Raiders, Chargers games are 9:25, but the rest are all 6:00.
Cleveland played tomorrow night as well, though. So
Yeah.
We can
Yeah.
have a good idea
that's
as to
tomorrow.
where we stand with them.
Well, if Cleveland win tomorrow, if Cleveland lose, tomorrow night against the Ravens, which I would expect them to, with a 20-point swing or whatever
20-point spread. Yep.
We can't get the number 1 pick. The highest we can finish is 2.
Yeah.
So that immediately rules that out tomorrow night.
Well, it's head to head, isn't it? And obviously we beat Cleveland.
Yeah.
So all the way back in week 3 when we beat Cleveland, I thought it's a great win. Could screw us over.
Yeah.
Do I?
And our strength of schedule screwed us over more than anything.
Yeah, because we played a lot of teams who won a lot of games, which seems backwards to punish us for being beaten by good teams. But that's how the draft works.
And it's probably going to be even worse next season.
Yeah, that's going to be fun to read into.
The schedule for next season isn't looking great, is it?
Do I do? Oh, Maya said head-to-head doesn't come into it. It's purely strength of schedule when it comes to draft. So, do I do devil's advocate now or after you've spoken about college players?
I'll just go off the college players quite quickly, and then we'll do it straight after.
Go on then. Let's do it. So you chose Kev.
Yeah, a couple of players, 4 players I wanted to go on. Penn State played Boise. Boise lost 31-14 to Penn State. Gente himself went for 104 yards on 30 carries, no touchdowns, and only 3.5 yards per carry. Not his best showing, but he's definitely, you can see he's a workhorse, 30 carries there. But it was his lowest PFF grade at 61.4. Next player I had was Kelvin Banks, a tackle, Kevin Banks Jr. for Texas. Texas beat Arizona State in double overtime. This game was absolutely phenomenal to watch. Texas went off early, but then Arizona State came back into it and scored a couple of touchdowns late to take it to overtime. Texas couldn't get anything going on the ground, though. They only had 53 rushing yards on the ground, but Ewers passed for 322 yards and 3 touchdowns, giving Banks a pass blocking grade of 76.7, which is good to see. Then Ohio State versus Oregon. Ohio State, beat the number 1 ranked Oregon 42-21. They took an early lead in this and never looked back. They looked by far the better team, even though Oregon beat them early on the season. But I had Derek Armon here, the defensive tackle, the interior guy. Yeah, he only had 3 tackles, but he did have a run blocking grade of 90 on PFF. He had 1 QB hit and 2 hurries as well. And then the Notre Dame game last night, Notre Dame versus Georgia, I went for Malachi Starks. Notre Dame beat Georgia 23-10 in a real defensive battle. Old school defensive football, really good to watch. But Starks was only targeted twice in the game, giving up 1 reception for 4 yards. He made 3 tackles and only missed 1. He had a solid game, but Notre Dame didn't really pass the ball that well at all. So the Georgia defensive line just bullied the Notre Dame offensive line. So the passing game wasn't there, so we couldn't see what he was like in coverage.
Shane, did you?
No, so I was going to say I thought Shane was going to add something there. It looked like he was about to speak. No,
ignore me.
Just we are. Is that it?
we are.
He was just still smiling, thinking about shutting down Ashton Genty.
Top running back. He's got nothing on Singleton and Allen.
Just quickly, just for both of you, because I know that you watch the games. I cannot remember the kid's name. Scatterbon, something like that. What we saying about him?
Well, the white running back, you can kind of do it all. Catches the ball, carries the ball, pass blocks, does a bit of everything, and probably should be higher on people's lists. And he probably will be now after he was I think it's the only, I don't know if it was all bowl games or this specific bowl game history. He was the only player to get player of the game on a losing side, like MVP, but he was on the losing side.
Because he played against Texas in the double overtime.
Yeah.
Really.
And it was because of him. He kind of single-handedly dragged Arizona State back into the game on his own.
I would hope he does play football, mayonnaise. Is he that good? For Mayonnaise to say that, he must be pretty good.
He is.
I was going to say it's a stacked running back class. Like, I know we've possibly got something with Tyrone Tracy, but I'd like Devin Singletary to Foxtrot Oscar. Let's cut Eric Gray, and I'd love to draft a running back in this class because I think it's such a good running back class. It could get in as one of the best in recent times.
There was another question, but I cannot remember it.
So if we have the number 2 overall pick, do we take a running back?
Behave.
Right. Could it happen? Could it?
Shall I?
Devil's advocate. Go on.
Shall I bring Shane's optimism down a little bit and see what he says about
Is this going to make me lose my shit?
No, probably not.
Oh yeah,
Probably not. Everyone's angry. Everyone is angry with the New York Giants. At least they were last year. Shane, on New Year's Eve, were you angry with the New York Giants? Before you turn your new leaf. The reason everyone's angry is because we can't pick in the top 2, right? That's why people are angry, because we can't pick in the top 2 and someone's going to jump us for a quarterback. So I've had a look at all of the starting quarterbacks over the entirety of the AFC and the NFC and where they were picked and how many of them were first overall. So the 34 quarterbacks that I've looked at who were classified as bona fide starting quarterbacks. So the only 2 teams who have had more than one, that I've counted more than one, are the Steelers, because they've got Fields and Wilson, who in my eyes both technically starters. Falcons had Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix, who are both technically starters. So 34 quarterbacks in the league. How many of those quarterbacks are on their original team?
Hang on, what, went first overall or went in first?
We just go all the quarterbacks.
So
there's 34 of them. How many of them are on the original team they were drafted by?
12.
More than that, 22. How many of them went first overall?
3.
8. Burrow, who is with the Bengals. Trevor Lawrence, who's with the Jags. Kyler Murray, who is with Cards. Bryce Young. Caleb Williams. Jared Goff, who is obviously not on the team that he was drafted by. Matt Stafford, not on the team he was drafted by. Baker Mayfield, not on the team he was drafted by. So, of those 8 first overalls, only 5 of them are on their original team. And of the 24 quarterbacks taken in the first round, only 17 are on their original team. You have a quarterback taken round 132, Lamar Jackson, 7, Josh Allen, 20, Deshaun Watson, but less said about him, the better. Bo Nix was 12. Anthony Richardson was 4. Mahomes was 10th. Aiden O'Connell, round 4, but let's not kid ourselves. He's not a starting quarterback. Herbert was 6. Aaron Rodgers was picked 24. Fields was 11. Russell Wilson was round 3, pick 75. Will Levis is probably not a starting quarterback, but round 2, pick 33. Kirk Cousins, round 4, pick 102. Dak Prescott, round 4, pick 135. Jalen Hurts, round 2, pick 53. Do you get what I'm getting at here? We don't have to think that the saviour of our football team is going to be taken 1 or 2.
Yes, we do.
We could quite easily take the best player available and pick up Jalen Milroe in the second.
Do you know what I would like to do? I was talking to Amir about this the other day. I'd almost like to try and I always want to trade back anyway. To trade back a little bit, pick up a couple of day 2 picks. But I'd almost, a 4th round pick, for example, every year, just get a QB. Just grab one. Just obviously, it will change, but just draft one every single year until you hit and just go.
That's how many we've taken since Eli Manning.
Yeah. So we haven't even given ourselves.
What San Francisco did. Look what the Niners did. Brock Purdy, Mr.
The thing
Irrelevant.
is,
Oh, wait. He's a fucking good quarterback.
You're so right, Craig. Like we haven't even given ourselves a chance to hit on one because we just haven't been drafting them.
So Carl Lauletta, Daniel Jones, and no, he was before Eli left.
The QB coach.
Yes.
The one who's in Denver now.
Yeah, and it's really, really annoying me.
Yeah, Davis Webb.
Davis Webb. Thank
Davis
you.
Webb.
So we've drafted 3 quarterbacks since Eli sort of, declined since.
And we never drafted a quarterback after drafting Daniel Jones.
No. And as Mayo said, you don't give up swinging if you don't hit the ball first strike. However, I'm not saying that we shouldn't take a quarterback up high. I'm just saying it's not the end of the world just because we don't get these 2 quarterbacks, because there are only 8 quarterbacks out of 32 that were first overall picks. And 5 of them are on their original team, meaning 3 of them and 12 quarterbacks in the league are from within the league who have already been drafted by another team, whether that's trade or free agency.
I don't forget Sam Darnold as well.
Well, so, yeah, Sam Darnold's one of them.
Oh, okay.
The interesting thing, though, how many of those QBs have gone first overall in the last 6 years?
Devil's Advocate Part 2 coming up here. How many of those quarterbacks have been absolute dog shit because they're put into a bad situation with a shit football team? And who has a shit football team right now?
Yeah, agree. Baker Mayfield's a perfect example of that.
Yeah, man.
I hate this new optimistic Shane. He's pissing me off.
My team's good. My team is undefeated this year. I'll have you know.
Oh, Jesus. That's a stretch.
All teams are undefeated this year.
Yeah, but
all teams are undefeated this year.
I would have to say that a week ago. I can say it now.
But what I'm not saying I don't want us to sort this position out, and I'm not saying I would be against us trading up. I'm just kind of putting context around it. Yeah, I'm just putting context around it in the fact that the absolute meltdown that happens on Twitter in round 1, if we decide that we're picking 6th and we go for the best cornerback that's still available on the board and we address it later, doesn't mean that we're tied into mediocrity for forever, because there are other means.
Just one very quick one. I'm not going to kind of ask Dan and Craig because I don't know what their knowledge is. If they have an answer, then fair enough. Kev, right now, draft was today. We've got the 4th overall pick. Who are you taking?
See, I'd be tempted to go harder.
Let's say Travis Hunter's gone. The 2 quarterbacks have gone.
Michigan cornerback.
Really? Okay.
Who'd you go for?
Graham.
Yeah.
DT.
I think he's a stud, and I don't want a rookie cornerback. We've still kind of got one of them.
We don't need a rookie corner.
Obviously, if you two know anyone that you might know of.
Mason, did you say Graham?
Yeah.
Mason Graham.
Him and Michigan.
Yeah, him and the Michigan cornerback are the only 2 that I've kind of seen taken around that level. But
for me, they won't do it. But Devil's Advocate here, part 3, part 4. I don't know what we're on there. How about we let Thibodeau walk, don't pick up his 5th-year option, and draft Abdul Carter?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be against that. I think Abdul Carter is an absolute stud, to be fair. I think he's class. I think he's one of the better players in the thing. I just think Will Johnson is just...
Remember the last Penn State edge rush we passed up on? Not being funny.
Yeah.
Still haunts me to this day, that does.
Pass rush you.
Would you take Kelvin Banks Jr.?
On that note, I'd like to thank you for tuning in tonight. As always, thanks to Dan, Kevin, Craig, you, the listeners and the followers, and like, subscribe, and all that jazz.
Hello, line. Oh.
And I think we'll bring it close there. I can just imagine Shane's reaction if we took an offensive lineman in the first round. I think I can imagine all of our reaction
be more meme-worthy than Penix being picked at 8 last year.
So just quickly, actually, Shane, if there's a quarterback outside of round 1, like 3rd, 4th, 5th, what is there any that jump out at you? You think, oh, I'd take a flyer on them? Would that say that extra 4th pick we've got? Is there any sort of like late quarterback? Quarterback. Yeah, that you just like.
There's a couple I'd take, to be honest. I'd take a dart. I'd take a flyer.
I like it.
On Jackson Dart. And also, I know he's undersized, but what you got to lose on Dylan Gabriel in the 4th round or 3rd round or something? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean his production's been phenomenal, but he is 5'11", which is the only thing that sort of like kills him a bit. Will Howard's making a case at Ohio State. He was phenomenal there this past week. So there is a few, and even Kyle McCord, Syracuse. There's a few there.
Is it Rourke? Is it a Summit?
Yeah, Curtis Rourke from Indiana.
Yeah, him as well. I'd take a flyer on him.
There's 3 or 4 that I actually really like. Oh, yeah, the top 2, but then there is 3 or 4 that I really like around that 4th, 5th, 6th round, where you think, right, if we could take him, get someone to start for us next season, and then try and develop one of them, I think it's worth a bit of a flyer.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, there's your QB talk.
There we go. There's going to be plenty more of it in the coming weeks and months. We've got, 111 days? So in the coming weeks and months, there's going to be plenty of quarterback talk and plenty of draft talk coming for you on this show. But unless there's any questions in the comments, Craig.
Not that we haven't kind of covered in a way.
No. Cool. All right. It is time.
Actually, there was one more. There was one actually. I think I lost it earlier, but there was a question from Darren in there. I'm pretty sure. Sorry, I have completely lost it. But I think somebody basically said when we were talking earlier about wide receivers, about Slayton being a start. Like he's our 3rd string. He would be a starter anywhere else. It was Mayo. Do we think Slayton would be a starter at most teams? I think so, and he's our 3rd guy. Would you agree with that? Do you think that Slayton is a starter because he's out of contract? Isn't he? He'll be out of contract.
Yeah, he's a free agent this offseason, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I've always maintained he's one of the most underrated players on the New York Giants roster since he's been drafted.
I think he would definitely be a good number 2 in another team, but in a rotation as well. I mean, you rotate like between four or 5 guys. If you had a complete stud at number 1, I think he's a great foil for a stud number 1 if you have good quarterback play.
There we go.
Yeah, it's just a shame he's not had the quarterback, really, isn't it? Because I think he could be a really, really good receiver in this league, but we just haven't had the quarterback for him to succeed and show really what he's capable of. It'd be interesting to see if we re-sign him this offseason as well. Or do we draft another receiver, or do we look for another veteran somewhere? You about to say something, Craig?
No, it was more of a
yeah. Remains to be seen, but that is all we have time for this evening. We'll be back on Wednesday next week to review the game and give some immediate thoughts on the season. No doubt the first round draft pick will be a topic of discussion too. Obviously, we'll know where we are by then, and we'll probably start getting into draft content. No doubt. I'm sure Shane and Kev will want to get into it straight off the bat. But anything to add before we go, guys?
As you know, it's always good, especially when all 4 of us can get on. Obviously, it's not been the season we wanted it to be, but hopefully everyone who's tuned in over the 18 weeks has had a good crack as much as we have. But the most important thing, remember, 2025, it's a year of optimism. Let's be positive.
Yeah, I'm with Shane. Let's be positive. The season's nearly over. We can put it behind us and start looking forward. I actually am looking forward to the state of the franchise things that we'll do. We'll see, who's on the roster going forward, who we'd like to sign back, what free agents are out there that can help this team. that roster building thing that we do in the off season. I really enjoy that. So stick with this flow, that type of stuff. And obviously, there's going to be lots of draft content. The off season is where we shine.
And that starts next week. The Eagles review means absolutely naffle, so we will fire through that, and after that, it will be talking about the future, and then the week after that is can't miss, because it's time to look at our bold predictions and our season predictions, and let me tell you, some of those are bad.
I can fully imagine some of those are bad, because we started off this season with blind optimism, maybe a bit blind optimism. So there might be a couple of predictions in there that are just absolutely laughable. And we'll have a nice little giggle about them in the coming weeks. But yeah, the season obviously hasn't gone as we wanted it to, but it is what it is. I think, yes, it is 2025, the year of optimism. But at the same time, I'm kind of like at the point now where I can't be too optimistic until I see something good on the field, And I think we're probably all thinking the same. But I'd love to be as optimistic as you are, Shane. I'd love to be, but until we see a product on the field, until we see it really sort of turn around, then I can't be, to be honest.
I bet that's words you never thought you would utter.
Nope. I've always been optimistic about this team, but I just the last 5.5, 6 years has taught us that selecting Daniel Jones in the draft was a bad move, and we've now got to move on from that. And because of that, it's almost like we're back at square one after Eli retired. So we're in the position we are because of what's happened over the last few years, but hopefully this season and this year, 2025, is a better one for us all round. But I want to remain as optimistic as I can, and I think if Daves and Shane stay, do they nail it this off season? We'll find out. But I'm hopeful. I'm more hopeful than I am optimistic. Good to have you boys back on. As Mayonnaise says, love a full barn. Interestingly, what animals do you think we are in Mayonnaise? In a full barn, what animals do you think we make up? Don't know. But yeah, it's good to have all four of us on. I just enjoy being on with the three of you guys. It doesn't happen enough. I wish it could happen every week, but obviously life gets in the way, and it's a good way to start off the year. So I appreciate your time this evening. And to those watching and listening as well, appreciate your comments and questions this evening. We appreciate the love as always. Check out our socials for all the latest news, including Blue Sky now as well. Follow the links in the description and give the episode a like if you enjoyed it. No comment. Me.
We're signing off until next time.
Well, who is the cock? I'll take one for the team. There we go. My thanks as ever do go to Shane, to Kev and Craig for joining me. Happy New Year. We are signing off. Until next time, let's go Giants.